everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Well, another Halloween season has come and gone. As usual, it's time for spooky activities like carving pumpkins or trick-or-treating, traditions that have stayed relatively the same for over 100 years.
Costumes are another popular part of Halloween celebrations, but it's one of the few aspects of the holiday that have progressively changed over time, not only because of what might be trending that year, but also because costume cultural appropriation awareness has given us an understanding that some costumes need to be taken off the table completely. But sometimes the line between culture appropriation and culture appreciation can be fine and foggy. Hi, I'm Aaliyah Andres.
And I'm Caitlin No, and we're your hosts for the Culture and Costumes Navigating Boundaries podcast. And today we're diving into what makes or breaks a Halloween costume that portrays a different culture and how they've evolved over the decades. So let's start with how dressing as different cultures for Halloween began. The act of dressing in Halloween costumes in North America has been around for more than 100 years, and if people chose to dress up as a different culture, it was parts of traditions that had been stolen, stereotyped, or inaccurately represented.
Vivian Gosselin, who is the director of exhibitions and collections at the Museum of Vancouver, has seen many traditional costumes and belongings throughout her career, and says the Halloween costumes would always be made up of the same stereotypical depictions of a certain culture, because that's what society understood them to look like.
If you're copying or trying to represent a culture you don't know, you'll have to go with the lowest common denominator, right? Because very caricatured. It can't be subtle because people won't know, because we don't know those cultures. It's always going to be the same kind of reductive elements because people are like, oh yeah, they're trying to do the, the Sarah, princess, because we don't have a lot of references. When we start looking at the sourcing, how it came in to live in museum collections, we know that some pieces have been stolen. It was really about historically marginalized communities that, on top of that, didn't even have the agency of talking about their own stories.
But as time went on and costumes labeled Native American, Gypsy, or Egyptian that were formerly popular in shops started to be taken down, it became clear that the aim wasn't to represent traditional culture, but to use its stereotypes for profit.
Part of the discussion was it's not okay in gift shops, for example, to sell, Pocahontas costumes. We just told you who we are. This is like Disney that's trying to, create more merch and sending stuff without context. The idea that you can extract natural resources and cultural resource from all over the world, it's okay as long as you can sell it. And I think the costume is kind of in stores like that for sale. It's just one of those manifestations.
Aaliyah and I went to the streets of downtown Vancouver to see if we could find any costumes portraying other cultures. While most costumes we saw were popular movie characters, pop culture references, ghouls, or comedy related, we did find a few people dressed up in attire from cultures they didn't know a lot about.
It's Halloween night on Granville and Smythe Street in Vancouver, where there are crowds of people in costumes.
We are wearing a Sheikh's costume. It's called Twab. It's called Twab.
Do you know what culture it's from?
It's from Arab religion, I guess.
Okay. Is that your guys' culture?
No.
No? Okay.
No, we're just we respect all religions and we're just part of the festival.
So why did you pick this costume?
It was a last minute one. On Saturday, I was a witch, and then it was a costume that I was supposed to wear today, but I didn't have like my hat.
What is your makeup of? Like what are you supposed to be?
It's sugar flower.
Sugar flower.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's from
Mexico? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
the
like
Dia de los Muertos, I believe.
Yeah. Like, do you know much about it, or was it kind of just like?
Sorry. Yeah. It's more like random. Yeah, I took out, but I don't know. Yeah.
As we just heard, one person we talked to in downtown was wearing a costume of what she called a sugar flower. This is part of Mexican culture that is derived from the Day of the Dead celebration. We asked Lily Carvalho, the executive director of the Vancouver Latin American Cultural Center, about if it's ever appropriate to dress up as another culture as a Halloween costume.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think that, of course, everything is in the intention you put on it, but because you're out there in your costume, people will know if you're celebrating or mocking. And so that's why we should be careful. Your intention won't be clear when you choose your costume. So you really should, think twice.
So from what Lily just mentioned about thinking twice about a certain costume, that seems to be sticking with people. Owner Maureen Q from Disguise the Limit Costume Rentals in Victoria says the interest in costumes from different cultures have considerably gone down in popularity.
Absolutely renting less or none. People are unsure or they're just not comfortable not knowing if it's appropriate or not. So they just don't. So wouldn't be doing, any tiger lilies. Aladdin still, there's certain costumes that people don't associate necessarily with a culture. They associate with a childhood love of a character. So yeah, I think it's great that the conversations are happening, but definitely people are staying away from any ones that have a strong cultural reference that is not their own.
I think it was something probably every little kid has done at some point growing up, where they'll want to dress up as a character like Disney's Jasmine or another character from a beloved movie or person from history. But Aaliyah and I were having this discussion when researching for this project about if we should be giving a pass to children when it comes to character costumes from different cultures. This is what Vivian and Lily had to say.
I think it's okay not to have those costumes as a choice. You can be a plumber, like a princess, but it doesn't have to be that specific person from that specific place. If Pocahontas is not okay, I think it's not okay without understanding more context. I know it sounds maybe a little, it may seem a bit harsh in some ways, but I think there are different ways of exposing kids to different cultures. I think at one point it will go. I'm pretty sure people will start looking into it and say, there's so many other costume ideas. Like, people lack imagination. There's just so much stuff we can do, right? That's not about representing people we don't know.
Like, I cringe when I think that I dressed as an indigenous person when I was a little kid back in Brazil, which was considered totally fine. And now there is a new, better developed thought around that you shouldn't do that.
So, what conclusions have we come to after talking to different experts and researching this topic? Can we definitively say what kinds of cultural costumes are okay and the ones that are not?
It seems to be a couple of things in combination, but I think Lily does a really great job at summing it up with this quote.
You should do your own homework, and so try to learn more about other cultures. Be on the safe side of things and dress like a couple of friends of mine dress as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That won't have any cultural problem. And so if you can be creative in a way that you're not going to be risking offending someone, why not?
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us for Culture and Costumes Navigating Boundaries. My name is Caitlin No.
And I'm Aaliyah Andres. Look out for more episodes created by our students at BCIT Journalism and 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
from the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. You're listening to 1680 The Crow. I'm Joss Chappelle here with your 2:30 p.m. news rundown. A sex offender is missing from his halfway house in Vancouver after this weekend. 58-year-old Randall Hopley is wanted Canada-wide. In early October, he was rated as a sex offender with a high risk to assault again. In light of this, Premier David Eby is criticizing the National Parole Board for not placing him under stricter supervision. There haven't been any confirmed sightings of Hopley yet, but the VPD is urging anyone with information to notify police. Hopley was scheduled to appear in provincial court today, charged with 2 counts of violating his supervision order in January after he was caught in a public library in close proximity to children. An investigation is underway after an ongoing disease has made its way back into BC. Our reporter Jay Rajlali has more.
Avian flu has made a troubling comeback in BC, Canada. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency found the virus at 2 places over the weekend, one in Langley and the other in Abbotsford, both involved in poultry farming. This comes after 4 similar cases were reported just last month in the Fraser Valley, where the affected business was a small free-range farm with about 8,000 birds. These October outbreaks were the first since April, when migrating wild birds were blamed for spreading the disease across BC and other parts of Canada. Officials are keeping a close watch on the situation. Jag Rajlali, 1680, The Crow.
Making history in Canadian politics, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has confirmed the appointment of Mary Moreau to the Supreme Court of Canada. Jim Bronsdale with the Canadian Press has more.
Moreau, who is Chief Justice of the Court of King's Bench of Alberta, fills the vacancy created by the retirement of Russell Brown. Before her appointment to the Alberta Court 29 years ago, the bilingual Moreau practiced law in her native Edmonton, handling civil, criminal, and constitutional cases. A majority of the judges on the 9-member Supreme Court of Canada are now women for the first time in its 148-year history. Jim Bronskill, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
If you enjoy hiking in the Lower Mainland, this next story might interest you. Google Maps has now corrected a dangerous North Shore backcountry trail route. The area near Mount From has been the site of multiple rescues and even deaths. North Shore Rescue says it is grateful for the correction after some hikers wandered into the unsafe areas of local mountains. It's not completely clear if Google Maps was to blame for earlier cases of hikers in that area. Natural remedies might be an option for some when researching medical treatment options. Our reporter Filip Kovacevic spoke to a nurse about her experience with the practice.
Zenia Golotska is a registered nurse with a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing from the University of Victoria. Zenia started seriously researching naturopathic medicine after her husband was diagnosed with a prolapsed heart valve. The medical recommendation they were given by doctors was to have surgery to try to repair the valve or replace it. However, through her research into natural remedies, Zenia managed to heal his heart valve without surgery.
10 years later, my husband is still very physically active, has no constraint, plays sports 5 days a week, he had no surgery.
Always speak to a healthcare professional when needed, and if you do make the decision to try natural medicine, make sure your research is very thorough. Filip Kovacevic, 1680, The Crow.
A Port Moody woman had an unexpected turn of events Sunday morning when her son called to tell her a bear was inside her van. Leanne Cedarberg's son discovered the bear and phoned police. Luckily, no one was harmed. The van, however, had panels torn off and wiring destroyed. Cedarberg says she feels terrible for the bear and thinks he must have been very scared when he couldn't get out. She's now reminding others to lock their vehicle doors. Now for weather and traffic, it's looking to be a mix of sun and cloud with a chance of rain closer to right about now actually, and showers easing up around midnight. The temperature is looking to stay around that 10 mark, and if you're planning to travel today on Highway 3, you might want to reconsider. A rock slide near Karamias has forced the closure of a portion of the highway in both directions. We're expecting an update in about 30 minutes, and we'll have that for you at the next cast. Those were your 12:30 p.m. news headlines. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle. Thanks for tuning in to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Microlink, connecting you with your BCIT community. Hello everybody, my name is Tatiana Yakovleva and welcome to the first episode of Microlink for the fall term. I'm excited to be back. This episode has a lot in store for us. But first, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which BCIT's main campuses are located is the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the shared traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish First Nations. To start us off, I sat down with Celine Loriot, the president of the Student Association, to talk about the new executive board, what their visions are, and what's next for us. Celine, why don't you introduce yourself?
So my name is Celine. I am the president of the BCIT SA and a nursing student at BCIT.
That's awesome. And with so many BCIT students, it's never just being a student. Everyone does so much, right?
Of course. I feel like there's a bit of something for everyone at BCIT.
Right. So let's start with a few students. Can you tell us something about the 2023-2024 executive team? What's the vibe? What's the energy? What are you guys bringing to the table?
So I feel so fortunate to be working with such an enthusiastic team. So please don't mind if I rave about some of them. Charlene, the chair of health sciences, is a fellow classmate and nursing student like me. She's an avid runner and hiker. Also, she is pursuing her neonatal specialty. Shelby, the VP Equity and Sustainability, is an accounting student and has an appreciation for Shrek. Feel like a lot of us do.
That's my girl.
And her cat named Kevin. Simran, the chair of Business and Media, is an international student who has a bachelor's in French from India. Also, she keeps students safe as a security guard at BCIT. Abdul is studying architecture and building technology. He likes sports and cars, but only the fast ones. Justin is the chair of computing and academic studies. He is in the computer systems technology program and the voice of Raisin Crane in the Strawberry Shortcake series and volunteers at RAPS Cat Sanctuary in Richmond once a week. Daniel, the chair of specialized transport, is studying aircraft maintenance engineering. He is also serving Canada in the armed forces.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very dedicated. Lastly, Jimmy, the VP External, is an electrical engineer student and a Lego connoisseur. I could go on about Mia, Rashank, Josh, and Matthew. And if I did, we'd probably be here for a couple hours.
That's fair. We did hear from Mia and Vershank and a lot of the returning execs already. If you haven't checked out the previous interviews, I strongly recommend to doing so. Well, Celine, enough about your team. I want to hear about you. What do you bring to the executive team as the president?
As I mentioned, I am a nursing student in my final year, so I've really honed how to stay calm under pressure and how to think critically. Before this role, I served as the BCIT SA Chair of Health Sciences, and based on that, I know how it feels to be new at the SA. Therefore, I really try my best to set up my executives for success by regularly checking in, acting as a soundboard for new ideas, and encouraging self-care in work-life balance. I firmly believe that the president should share power, and leadership is best when it's collaborative. My priority is that students should feel seen, heard, and valued. It's not about being president that motivates me, it is serving the SA mandate of enhancing student life.
Can you briefly touch on what enhancing student life means to you?
So, enhancing student life is really listening to the students and delivering on what their current needs are. One of these mission projects that I'm working on is supporting students' mental health and awareness at BCIT. I plan on continuing with my Campus Convos events, which are mental health workshops with guest speakers shared over a meal at small round tables. This was actually a shared initiative with Josh Liu, the VP Student Experience that we started last year. So I'm definitely excited to continue with this initiative. Also, I want to boost student resilience and foster that sense of community by hosting more social events. I want to make BCIT more fun.
I personally root for paint night, so maybe you can make it happen one day.
For sure.
Okay, we got one vote in. Hopefully I'll get through. As a nursing student, what is the value of mental health? I'm sure you know that more than I do. So can you please briefly touch on that and the magnitude that it carries?
So I started my nursing studies in the peak of COVID.
Right.
And that was the strangest time of my life, right? Because instead of practicing in the community, we were practicing with simulation mannequins, right? So I think for me, mental health is so important because the pandemic made us more disconnected, right? And I think being a nursing student puts me in a unique position to really be in tune with what's going on around me in my environment and have a sense of what's going on for people and how I can really use my compassion to help others. Yeah, I think that's why mental health awareness, especially for students at BCIT, is so important to me.
Is that the main reason you got into nursing?
Yes, because I have had the privilege of growing up with lots of inspirational nurses, and I think just seeing the impact they had on their communities, and sure, no one is ever going to remember their names all the time, but people remember how they made them feel. And I think that is really what inspired me to get into nursing, because I want to have that kind of impact on someone. Make them know that I didn't give up, that, no matter what, I'm there for them.
I love the quote that it's more about how nurses make people feel, because in medical or mental health aspects, it's so vulnerable.
Yes.
And having a right attitude just makes the difference so much. But we'll stray away from that topic and we'll come back to the initiatives. Are there any other initiatives that your colleagues have been fostering that you're very excited about?
So I'm excited to work with Shelby Woida, the VP of Equity and Sustainability, to find ways to indigenize the organization. And we are thinking of doing this through consulting with elders on best practices, so we can move more in the direction of promoting reconciliation that is meaningful to us. We hope to achieve this through education and events in collaboration with community partners at BCIT. Mia Boo, the VP of Finance and Administration, plans on continuing her free tax clinic for students. It was very popular and successful last year. I think this is an excellent initiative, as tax time can be stressful for students, and it allows student volunteers to practice their tax skills. Vershank Prabhu, the chair of Energy, is leading the SETREP committee, which is focused on improving the SETREP program for everyone. And actually, many executives are interested in finding ways to just make it that better experience. And lastly, Justin Saint, the chair of Computing and Academic Studies, plans to continue hosting the annual QDS Hackathon, where teams work together to create solutions to an industry problem. And the winners get prizes and chances to connect with the judges, who are potential employers.
Ooh,
Lots of fun stuff happening.
So you mentioned the tax clinic, correct? And I personally can vouch that I volunteered for it last year. Honestly, an amazing experience for those who go there and volunteer there as well. But speaking of taxes and the economy, as you know, that the current economy is not very favorable with the interest rates rising, and it has affected everyone. Currently, there was a referendum last year regarding finances. So how does BCIT Student Association operate in a deficit? And how do you choose your priorities when it comes to limited funds? Because everything has a limited fund. We cannot.
Of course.
Unfortunately, we would love to have unlimited funds, but that's not realistic. So how do you set your priorities in this situation?
It's true that we are in a deficit, and we have chosen not to cut back services to students. Hosting successful events requires thoughtful planning and buy-in from the team. Also, we have options to move funds around to support initiatives. For example, September is jam-packed with student-facing events that we started planning many months in advance. The execs will be present at the events, so please stop by and hang out with us. It'll be great.
Awesome. Well, can you give us a sneak peek of one of those events?
Oh, one of them, we plan on having a pub party where we'll have a DJ and we'll have meal specials. And yeah, I'm really excited just thinking about it.
And besides the social events and gatherings, what do you think that the students at BCIT need the most in this current time?
It isn't easy being a student. Affordability is huge, and we know students need to feel supported during their academic journey, and there are numerous negative impacts from the rising cost of parking, housing, food, education, and textbooks. The list goes on. I see it every day with my classmates, many of whom have to work longer hours or take additional jobs just to make ends meet.
Right.
Additionally, mental health challenges continue to be prevalent, and no student should have to face this alone without adequate support. The SA is here to help, and will keep pushing BCIT and the government to step up even more.
And what does stepping up mean for you in this case?
So stepping up means really addressing these needs and being there for students. We opened a food pantry and we secured student support as a BCIT SA community for increased investments in this program over the coming year. Most importantly, we are constantly advocating to BCIT and the government around parking affordability, student aid, better regulation of international tuition, and increased mental health support.
And as far as I understand, that's the responsibility of VP External to lobby for those things.
Correct.
I know that's not your role, but can you briefly give us a sentence or two to summarize what your colleague does?
So Jimmy, the VP External, he goes on lobby trips with the government relations strategist Stuart. And in those trips, they are purposeful trips where they advocate for students in meetings with government officials.
I'm sure it's very tiring to do so, but I appreciate Jimmy doing that on our behalf. We'll get to the nitty-gritty part. I've heard some rumors that some students feel there is a disconnect between the student association and the students themselves. Do you think that is the case?
We can always do better. And this is top of mind during my presidency. Students connect with us for appointments with advocacy specialists for support with wellness and navigating BCIT educational policies. Also, students enjoy connecting with career specialists as they help give them that extra boost that they need in their careers and connect them with employers at career fairs. We form a council with student representatives across all schools and campuses. Therefore, I strive to find ways to motivate students to join, especially where students can directly have their say and shape the direction of the SA. BCIT attends student consultations with us throughout the year, so this is a great way to let them know what challenges and suggestions you have.
And for want students to get involved and to really voice their opinions, how can they do that? I believe, as far as I know, anyone can sit on the council meetings. Is that correct?
That is correct. Everyone is welcome. We have food. And yeah, it's one of the best ways to stay in the know in what's happening in the student community.
SA itself, there was a 5-year plan called Raising the Bar. What does that mean to you specifically, Celine?
Raising the bar means putting in the work to match words to action. For instance, we want to engage with more students by having more student-facing events throughout the year. Doing so will increase our presence at BCIT and student engagement at times such as the AGM and elections. Our new strategic plan will require everyone to work together in January to determine how we move forward into the future to enhance student life.
And what do you hope will be accomplished by 2024 with this plan?
I hope that students will be able to see our presence and feel that we are here to support them.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the BCIT students listening today?
At the BCIT SA, you choose how you want to be involved. You can join one of our 40-plus clubs, attend Kickstart and Welcome Back events, sign up as a set rep or counselor, or go to our website to learn about all the great services we offer. Please reach out to us if you have questions or concerns and send us your ideas. We are an inclusive and welcoming organization, pet-friendly too.
That is true. I've seen so many cute doggies running around. But I personally lobby for more cats. I'm a cat person. We need more cats.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you can't tell them where to go, so that's probably the only hiccup. But to end things off on a maybe slightly lighter note, do you have any advice for upcoming students? A lot of people are starting in September. What do you think a new student at BCIT should know?
At BCIT, there are so many people that would like to help you and so many resources here. And no one is ever going to turn you away if you say you're not okay. And yeah, we are a supportive community and we really want to see our students thrive.
I think it takes effort to reach out, which is why there might be a sort of barrier when it comes to it. But I can say from personal experience, it is worth it. If there is anything, an issue going on, and even if it's not really related to student life, you can always find resources. I personally encourage every listener to really reach out to people. We're only an email away, really, so.
Yeah.
And you can book appointments with Celine and other executives as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So each executive holds their office hours, and one way to find out when we're available is to go on our website and click the link to book an appointment with us. Or even if you just see us in the hallway, talk to us. We're happy to chat.
So now you know how Celine sounds like. So if you hear her voice, you know who she is. That's what it's like, hi, Celine. But thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that the September will be off to a great start. It sounds like a lot of is cooking up, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, I want to make BCIT fun again.
To continue discussing changes at the Student Association, I sat down with Roland Gagel, the Director of Finance and Interim Executive Director for the SA. He and I discussed what his two current roles entail, how they play into one another, what their differences are, and what they do to make the student life better. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Roland. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Roland Gagel, and I am the Director of Finance and the Interim Executive Director for the Student Association of BCIT.
So, Director of Finance is your main role, correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell me more about your main role?
I've been with the Student Association since 2003, so 20 years now, and my role as the Director of Finance is to oversee the finance and accounting and administration of the Student Association.
And in terms of being Interim Executive Director, how does that look like for you?
I get a lot more emails on a daily basis now. So in terms of the role of the Executive Director, it's overseeing the operations of all of the staff and acting as a liaison, as a liaison to the board and council. So assisting and supporting them and translating their objectives down to the staff and trying to achieve the goals that they want to have.
And in that position, do you integrate with all of the levels of the Student Association, or is it more of a relay between the board and the employees of the Student Association?
There's obviously a team of people. I don't talk to everybody individually. In totality, the Student Association has about 100 staff, so I don't talk to everyone, and many of the staff are involved with serving the students at our retail stores and things.
Right.
But so I don't manage all the staff directly. There's a team of directors that I directly liaison with or chat with and inform them or inform them of the board's wishes and just manage the operations from that point.
And how long have you been in this interim role?
Since June.
Okay. And combining this and your main role of Director of Finance, what does your day in your life look like?
Answering a lot more emails than I need to be doing, and trying to fit in the Director of Finance duties, some of which I've downloaded a little bit to the controller of the Student Association. Everyone's pitching in as best they can to help me out. It's an awful lot, and I certainly don't mind doing it for the benefit of the Student Association. So I certainly can't do it by myself. All of the staff are helping me out as best they can.
And I did hear Little Bird say that you do bike to work.
Do bike to work most days.
Most days. That's a nice start to your routine. Is there anything else that you like in your daily routine to break up the busyness?
Well, I try to make sure I have lunch.
That's always good.
That's always good. Other than that, no, it's bike to work to sort of get some fresh air and get going, and then it's doing the work and trying to answer emails, try to reach out to staff, talk to staff directly. I try not to sit at my desk too much. I do like to chat with people because I find it's a more informative way to bring the team together and sort of move things forward. So yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like the students to know about you and the Student Association?
I've been with the Student Association for 20 years, as I said. I've seen a tremendous amount of growth in the Student Association since I started. It is a completely different organization since when I started in 2003, but the mission has always stayed the same. All of the staff are dedicated to tagline. It's not just a tagline, it's the mission of the Student Association, which is enhancing student life. I'm always striving to make the Student Association better, but always better in the sense of trying to make things better for students, because the students are the members of the Student Association.
And how does that betterment look like in the next 5 years for you?
Well, there's a number of projects on the table in the short term in improving the food pantry, food security program. We've recently hired a food security coordinator as per the referendum that was passed last spring by the students. So enhancing that program, part of the objectives of that program is to bring it to the other campuses where possible. How that is actually going to look is still to be determined, but we're working on that because we fully understand the need of food security exists at all campuses. We're still working on with BCIT to determine where additional space for the Student Association could be on campus. That is part of the mandate of the Student Association. And so that's still in the works. It's taking a little longer than we anticipated, just because of the complexity of the negotiations with BCIT and the need to find the space and then to pay for it. We are collecting a new building fee to facilitate the building of a new space or acquiring a new space, however that may be, and there's just a lot. It's a complex thing, so we're still working on that. And then just in general, just trying to strive that all of our services are a little bit better every year, and make the delivery of services to students more efficient, more effective, and of more value to students.
And you talked about the consequences of the referendum. Is there any other ripple effect that students may not notice in their daily life?
With respect to the food security program, we brought that forward. It was brought forward by council to the students, and they voted in a positive manner to increase the fee as it relates specifically to the food security program, and now we're just rolling that out. the ripple effect there is just to be of benefit to students because the students found that to be of value. I can't really think of any other ripple effects. It's just all in the package or mandate to enhance student life.
And I talked to Celine about involving more student events. Is that something you're currently working on, or is it something that you don't oversee as much?
I am certainly working on it, not directly, but the council and the board has communicated that wish to me to have more actual student life on campus in terms of events, and I've communicated that to the other staff, and we are working on that. So, for instance, we did have the party at the pub on September 22nd, which was quite successful, and we've heard from students that they enjoyed that very much, and that seemed to go well. And we're in the process of planning another party for Halloween, and probably another kind of a party at the end of November. And we intend to continue planning more events, both bigger events and smaller events, to provide more life on campus.
What was some of the feedback that you received from the students during the Habitat Pub party?
Generally positive. They all seem to have a good time. There was some pickup on the Uber rides that we provided to students for the night of the party. We intend to do that again. With respect to the Halloween party, it was generally well received, and everything went reasonably smoothly. There weren't really any major hiccups as far as I'm aware. So it was generally positive. We're just trying to, for the Halloween party, to expand it a little bit and make it an even bigger event. I'm not going to share any details because that's going to come out in the next week or two, the details as it relates to that. But we're just trying to make the next party bigger and better, more fun.
Will you dress up?
Will I dress up? I hadn't thought about that yet.
That's fair enough. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I hope those 2 interviews were very insightful for you folks, because they were for me, and I work for the Student Association. Oh, but speaking of, you can check out more Student Association content, events, and things that are happening in the area on the Instagram at BCITSA. Same with Link. Our Instagram is at LinkBCIT. Also, check out our TikTok, run by yours truly. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I will see you in the next one.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.